everyone. Courtney Frass here, marketing strategist at SmartBug Media. I'm excited to introduce today's presenter, Tonia Speir, Senior Enterprise Sales Executive at SmartBug Media. Tonia works closely with innovative companies in the AgeTech space to help them find the right digital strategies and tech solutions to fuel their growth. She's on the front lines of go-to-market conversations every day. She's listening to challenges leaders are facing and helping them explore what's possible with the right CRM and agency support behind them. So today, she's sharing her insights in AgeTech GTM Blueprint, Launch Smarter, Grow Faster, a session designed to help AgeTech companies break through the noise and build a foundation for scalable success. Tonia, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to kick us off with this. Let's pretend I'm an AgeTech business. People are interested in my project, or I just got funding. Where do I go from here?
Great question, Courtney. In fact, I'm fresh back from AARP's AgeTech Summit, where I got to meet with a lot of the companies that are in their AgeTech collaborative, an incubator for up-and-coming AgeTech companies. And that's exactly where our conversation started. One of the first things that we needed to tackle and understand, a lot of these companies have been bootstrapped, are just getting started, they're ready to scale. And the distinction between targeting their buyers versus the end users in AgeTech, it can be a really broad spectrum. As SmartBug, one of the reasons that we even got involved in AgeTech was because of our vast experience in senior living. This, the end user, the champion, the adult child, that relationship and the dynamic of that is something that we've been navigating as an agency for a long time. And bringing that into the digital space is kind of newer for these age tech companies having to tackle it. So when we think about who the buyer is, those are going to be our senior living operators. It could be health systems. It could be family decision makers, but they're not the users necessarily. The users are more often, are older adults or caregivers that are kind of helping to help older adults live more independent lives. So, what they care about is different. And your strategy has to address both of these audiences in their own manner. Whereas for the buyer, they may care about, the ROI, the compliance, the outcomes, how easy is it for them to streamline into existing systems. Where the end user is going to care more about that emotional tie, having trust with the product or the service, the ease of use. Why is it important? How does it allow me to live more independently or more comfortably? Whereas on the buyer side of it, that might be more about, a bigger vision or bigger play. So I think understanding those audiences and making sure that your messaging resonates with each one of them. There are going to be some things that are similar, but in other ways, they're going to be very different. So the number one thing that we tell people is to make sure that you're first and foremost paying attention to your positioning and messaging, because you don't get a chance to do that a second time. If you go right out of the gate crafting your story with that message from day one, it's going to be a lot easier to build on that story, to build, reputation and really guide your perception in the marketplace. So how do we start with, putting that formula together, clear positioning that connects your solution to what that customer needs? And how do we do that quickly? Simplicity is always the key here. So the first question I would ask and make sure that anyone has in place is your buyer personas. Have you done your homework to understand where and how you can reach each of these audiences? What are their behaviors? Where are they consuming their media? And then making sure that the message is right for the right time, right audience. Looking at your buyers, messaging the focus around what is most impactful to them, and getting the cadence right. Are you using nurtures, sequences, live demos? But then for the user, where do we get that value play for safety, the emotional tie, the peace of mind? And maybe that content cadence is better done through social proof, video walkthroughs, testimonials, and things like that. What we found is that in a multi-stakeholder sale like this, a one size fits all messaging isn't the answer.
Interesting. So your next slide I'm seeing here is all about inbound and outbound. What is the difference and when should you use each?
Inbound and outbound, it's always like the chicken and the egg scenario. What do we start with? Um, uh, you know, Always starting with making sure that you have some good inbound foundation is important. In age tech, both are going to be necessary. They're going to work together harmoniously, but where do you start? So when you think about outbound, that's cold outreach. That's, direct outreach, people who maybe haven't heard of you, don't know what you do, don't know, anything about you. And you're trying to say, hey, come in and listen to what I have to say. But then if they come in the door and you don't have anything to tell them or share with them, you've attracted them for no reason, you lose their interest. So if you build that inbound engine first, where you've got good content that's maybe educational or helps display that value proposition, it can be SEO, it can be blogs, it can be lead magnets, webinars, videos, things like that, then that's what you're going to want people to be able to see once you attract them through that outbound motion. So the inbound engine can take a while to produce. It can take sometimes upwards of, 6 months to even build, because you can't just build all this content and put it out there at once. You want to be able to put it out through the right cadence and the right timeline. But at the same time, if you're sending people to that, you want to make sure that it's there to capture them. When do you use each and how do you blend them together? When you want to use outbound when you're selling to bigger organizations, you've got long sales cycles, it's going to take a lot of repetition and reach to capture their attention, and you're just looking to get your foot in the door. On the outbound side, it's more about educating the market and building that credibility, and you're going to be building that for a scalable lead gen and nurture over time.
So I guess the next question that I have for you is like, how do I take all of this and put it to work? Like all of this information that you're giving us.
Yeah. So now that you've got some of your foundation pieces and you're ready to kind of turn these ideas into action, then the next thing that we're going to go through is some clear steps. So you've defined your target segments, you've got the right customer groups, you've prioritized them based on need, and you've got your personas ready. Now you're ready to start building that momentum. So have you tailored your value proposition? Have you matched that core message to each of those segments' specific pain points? Highlighting the benefits that are going to matter most to them. And don't think about a benefit of like a product feature. Think about the benefit for life. How does it make your life easier? How does it make your mobility better? What are the benefits, the what's in it for me? And again, can't stress enough to avoid that one size fits all messaging. Then we're going to choose our route to market. How are we going to connect that message with our users or with our buyers? Are we going to lean on direct sales teams that are doing outreach? Is it better through partners like resellers, affiliates? Is it better to distribute your product or service through a group of senior living communities or a group of physicians, health practices? Or are you going to go direct where the customer can come to you through e-commerce or product-led growth? It's important to launch in phases. So once you've kind of gone through pre-launch, you understand your early adopters, and feedback is key here. So listening to how people are reacting, what they find easy, what they find intuitive, where they find roadblocks and challenges. This is going to be really important feedback that you're not only going to weave into your messaging, but also into kind of those testimonials. Do this through like a soft launch so that you can create that feedback loop before you get into the full launch of a campaign. The last thing you want to do is launch and get traction and not have a good experience. Makes it even harder to get those people back. We tell our clients to plan backwards. So understand what are the goals? What are the expectations? What does success look like for us? Then you want to start to build that timeline through that. Start with your ideal launch date, work backwards through different milestones, dependencies, and also build some time in for strategic iteration, because you are going to be learning as you go. So one of the things that people ask often is, what should I be measuring? If I don't know what success should look like, where do I even begin? So some key things that, we can kind of guide for measuring is in the early days, like 0 to 90 days, think about, what are your active users? How does pipeline velocity look? Getting that customer feedback, early traction so that you can make sure that you have product market fit. Mid stage, we may be tying it more to revenue or market share. And in the longer term, how is profitability? How is retention? What is your brand footprint? Do you have the right brand awareness? This is going to give us, business health or signal business health and customer loyalty, which is key for scalability.
Huge thanks to Tonia. Thank you so much for presenting on this today and for joining us and sharing your insights on how age tech companies can launch smarter and grow faster. If anyone listening is building their GTM strategy and wants a partner who understands the nuances of the age tech space, from CRM setup to campaign execution, reach out to SmartBug. We'd love to help you make your go-to marketing motion more strategic and scalable. I'm going to go ahead and drop our contact us form in the description on this video. And I'm going to also include Tonia's email in there in case you want to reach out and just use her as a sounding board. She's here for you if you need any help. So, Tonia, thank you again and hope everyone has a great day.